All right, guys. Welcome to the Pitchfork podcast for March 22nd, 2021. If you guys like the stream, hit like button, hit share button. Make sure you let other people know that I run this stream. Let me go ahead and add some more things to the live stream real quick because I forgot to add some things like my ticker. Forgot to add some things. My apologies for that. All right, so number to call in is gonna be right down there. Also, join my Discord server. My Discord server, guys, is hopping and popping. It's growing, but I need more people to join to make it more lit, as the young kid, as the cool kids would say. And so, if you guys could just do me a favor, do me a huge favor. Make sure you guys are giving me as much shout outs in Discord as possible. Give me a second. All right. So we're going to be covering some news. We're going to be covering some general news, but we also be covering some bad cop, no donut. But general news is going to be taking over a little bit more in the show. We don't want to cover just bad cop, no donut because, quite frankly, I love doing bad cop, no donut. And if that's what I do primarily, I don't mind that. But I do want to give some more variety because I do know that I can be hardcore with the bad cop, no donuts. But speaking of that, I have a new video that's coming out. It's going to be about police gangs. Police gangs. It's going to be hopping and popping. It's going to be interesting. But without further ado, we're going to get into the news. Let's go over to the live scene. All right, so I was playing a game earlier, so let me take off the game capture. All right, throw on my window capture. There we go. All right, let me go ahead and shrink my window size here. All right, there we go. So we're going to go and check out CNN.com. Let's see what we got hopping and popping over here in this section of the space. All right. So there's a few stories I want to cover. Like this one here. CNN politics, White House aides prep $3 trillion job package. $3 trillion, another job package that's going to be huge. It is going to be crazy. I mean, oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I mean, he's spending money like he's got a stolen credit card. I mean, listen, I am all for helping the American people, and I'm certainly glad to see this. But just like most of the bills that Democrats put forward, and especially people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama and the modern day Democrat Party, they're going to put a lot of things in that bill that have nothing to do with jobs, right? Because I guarantee you that most of this bill is going to be for people who are Joe Biden's friends, people who are political allies of certain people, and I guarantee you that most of this supposed bill will not go towards the people that it was intended to go towards. All right, so let's go ahead and check this piece out. White House advisors are expected to present a two-part $3 trillion jobs and infrastructure proposal to President Joe Biden as soon as this week, according to two people familiar with the plan. The proposal, which Biden's top advisors have been deliberating over for weeks, would be segmented into two separate parts. One focus on infrastructure and clean energy, and a second focus on what's being termed the care economy, with the focus zeroed in on key domestic economic issues. You know, I have to call bullshit.
That's bullshit. Stop lying.
I have to call bullshit, right? Because I want you to see how this bill is already being presented. Now, CNN is telling you that the bill is supposed to be about jobs, right? But then they already adding in infrastructure and clean energy. Could those not be separate bills? Why do so many terms, so many things have to be pushed into one singular bill? See, that's the question that I gotta ask, and things that I gotta know, because it just seems to me, like Like a very, very strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing
That the modern day political bill has everything in it except for what the bill is actually named after, right? Like, for example, they will name a bill after save the kittens and children act, right? But then they have provisions in there about drone striking people in like Libya. It's like, what does that have to do about saving kittens and freaking children, right? But they will name these bills after certain things so that you can't resist them, you can't oppose them. That's the point of them giving them certain bills. So whenever a bill is named the "If you oppose this, you are not American" Act, or some shit like that, or the Save America Act, or the America First Act, or shit like that, whenever the more beneficially hyperbolic the name of a bill is, that's when you should worry. That's when you should worry, because you don't. If a politician wants to do something, right, they don't bother using fanciful words like this, right? They don't bother using fanciful words like this. In full, it would make a sweeping move towards enacting the key elements of the jobs agenda that Biden laid out in part during his campaign for president, with the suite of potential tax increases on corporations and the wealthy as options to finance any longer-term spending in the final proposal. The proposal was first reported by the New York Times. White House officials stressed that no final decisions about the final path forward have been made at this point. Biden still has to review the proposals and plans to consult heavily with Democratic leaders in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, about the scale and legislative sequencing of the next key pillar of his agenda. It is very, very interesting. It's a very, very strange thing that these bills, notice how when people were shouting about how come the COVID relief for American people, how come that couldn't be passed as a separate bill? How come if you're focusing on jobs, why is there so many things in the bill that has nothing to do with jobs? I'm going to keep hammering that, because it's just a very, very strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing.
And it makes me very, very suspicious. It makes me very, very suspicious. President Biden and his team are considering a range of potential options for how to invest in working families and reform our tax code so it works so that it rewards work and not wealth. White House Speaker Press Secretary Jen Psaki said in a statement. Those conversations are ongoing, and so any speculation about future economic proposals is premature and not a reflection of the White House's thinking. That is, it's just odd to me that they're being so cryptic with this. And you're already seeing things in the bill that have very little to do with jobs. If you're focusing on jobs, then how come you couldn't pass the $15 minimum wage? I mean, what's the point in people getting a job if it's not a living wage? See, that's what makes what Joe Biden is doing that much more suspicious. See, that's what makes what Joe Biden is doing that much more suspicious, because if you care so much about the working man and the working family, how come you haven't passed more tax cuts for the working family? Why are you still taxing people during this period? Until the national emergency is over, I don't think that people should be taxed during this time. I don't think that that's actually right. And I also want to say that it's very, very suspicious when you get Joe Biden talking about tax relief and taxing people and increasing taxes, and also focusing so much on just bullshit that has nothing to do with taxes and jobs. And it just worries me that people aren't picking up on this. It really, really does worry me that people are not only not picking up on this, but they're excusing it. And that worries me, because people will excuse things and they will ignore things based on who they like politically. And to me, that's un-American. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. All right, guys, so I'm back. So there's going to be some more fun and games we're going to be playing. So that's one article that I covered. We're going to cover some more. There is going to be A lot of stories I'm going to be covering. That's going to be kind of heavy. It's going to be kind of heavy, man. So, there's going to be some heavy stories here. It's going to be some heavy stuff that's coming up. So we got a bad cop, no donut that we got to cover. No name, how you doing? I salute you. Welcome to the chat. All right, so we got to cover another story. All right, this is coming from CNN. It's coming from CNN. This one's going to be kind of heavy. All right, this is going to be a bad cop, no donut. All right, he cut my underwear, then he did what he did. They wanted democracy. Instead, they were beaten and raped by police. Wow, this is a story coming from Europe. All right, out of Belarus. These are some sexual assault and abuse claims and some assault claims in general. In Ukraine, Sergei stood on a small sheet of ice in the Dnieper River and breathed in icy air hard. He had escaped, but that relief was overwhelmed by both the pain of leaving his homeland and the fear he might not survive the rest of his perilous journey. I should say. He was wanted again by Belarusian police. He had already been detained last summer and was beaten in custody, all for protesting against the election victory declared by President Alexander Lukashenko, I should say. Fellow protesters he spent time in detention with had just been arrested, and it was clear police would soon come for him again. Reluctantly, he knew he had to flee. So once again, this is a story coming out of Belarus, and apparently the police there have been abusing people, and it's been pretty crazy. Apparently, it's been pretty crazy. It's been pretty upsetting. There's gonna be some stories here. There's gonna be some video here that you're gonna be watching. That's gonna be pretty upsetting. So if you don't want to continue any further, I understand, but bear with me. It's gonna be pretty brutal. It's gonna be pretty brutal. His was a particularly remarkable run for freedom. He crossed the border into Ukraine illegally and was not able to walk through the forest and across sheet ice like many before him had done. In a hurry and surrounded by melting ice, Sergei put on a wetsuit and flippers he had brought and swam. In a video he filmed on his phone halfway through his 2-hour journey on New Year's Eve, he recorded part of his escape, which involved not only swimming in freezing temperatures and through dense reed, but stumbling over sheet ice and crawling through thick sludge. Such was his desperation to leave. Nighttime escape. Sergei escaped Belarus last New Year's Eve on a brutal 2-hour journey, swimming across 2 rivers through thick reed and in freezing temperatures, walking on thin ice sheets and crawling through sludge to reach the safety in Ukraine. Wow. So this is actually his journey. And it's actually a map here. Good God. So he was running from the cops in Ukraine, in Belarus, and he was trying to get to Ukraine to escape them. My socks are freezing right to the ice. I will try to crawl there and hope that I will not freeze, he said at one point in his video. I'm navigating by the stars, he said, audibly cold. The feeling is indescribable, and I am all alone here. Hundreds of thousands of Belarusians attended mass protests across the country last year following Lukashenko's declaration of victory in the August vote. The U.S. and EU declared the vote fraudulent and imposed sanctions on Belarusian officials over the fraud and the brutal crackdown that followed. So this is a picture of all the people who were protesting, man. Holy smokes. So opposition leaders protest against disputed election results in Minsk on August 23rd, 2020. So this is all the people who were protesting. Whoa, it's a lot of people. This is like a thick sea of people, man. A thick sea of people. Sergei, who was at CNN, not to reveal some details of his story and his name and his real identity, has now claimed asylum in another country, and he wanted to share his story with CNN so that the relatives he left behind might one day read what had happened to him. I left my country, my friends, and family with bitterness of defeat. He said, I simply became a refugee and had to start again, as if all I had achieved was for years was suddenly nothing, I should say. To this day, I am mentally exhausted and sleepless and worrying about those I left behind. CNN has spoken to several other Belarusians who have fled the repression of Lukashenko's regime illegally across the border into the Ukraine as part of a 2-month investigation into the crackdown inside the country. In dozens of interviews, protesters and opposition activists have spoken of torture, from systemic beatings to rape with the police baton. Wow. Rape with the baton. Defectors from the police force have also supplied CNN with videos from the police's own archives, body cam, dash cam, and surveillance footage that display the extraordinary ferocity of riot police against protesters who are unarmed and peaceful, many of them teenagers. Oh God, look at this. So you can see the beatings in this GIF right here. Good God, man. Good God. It is in August 13th, 2020. It's from their own archives. You can see it. Wow. The Lukashenko regime has, activists say, slightly softened its tactics in the past weeks as fear has gripped the opposition movement. Yet there are concerns among activists the crackdown will intensify again ahead of the nationwide call to the streets on March 25th. The fate of the Belarusian protest movement has gained greater significance in the past months as anti-government protests spread inside neighboring Russia against the attempted murder and imprisonment of Alexei Navalny. Russian President Vladimir Putin swiftly moved to support Lukashenko in August with a $1.5 billion loan and other unspecified assistance. The Belarusian protests, however, have continued. Analysts say the Kremlin is concerned both by a persistent protest movement for democracy on its doorstep and the impact of unprecedented levels of police violence on how a younger generation of Belarusians view Moscow. So Russia is intervening because they're seeing the worldwide movement against police violence and police brutality. And I think they are concerned mostly because of what's happening, mainly because it's promoting reforms in their own country. You know, if you look at some of the protests that are happening in Russia that are being prompted by supporters of Alexei Navalny or people who are just against the police state in Russia in general, you know, what prompted that? A lot of that was what was happening here in America, in Canada, and in Mexico. You had so many protests that happened during last summer that it emboldened people. It showed people that people should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. After being presented with a summary of CNN's findings, a State Department spokesperson said the U.S. strongly condemns the months-long post-election brutality carried out by the Lukashenko regime against peaceful protesters. A statement added that there were more than 500 documented cases of severe abuse, 290 political prisoners, and a number of individuals still reported missing. So there are people who are still missing, and the last time that they were seen was them being abused by the cops in Belarus. These violent actions have destroyed the Belarusian authorities' legitimacy among their own people and the international community, they said, demanding the immediate release of political prisoners and all those unjustly detained, and for those responsible for severe abuses to be held to account. He cut my underwear using this knife. The police dash cam footage begins with a police car showing a white SUV full of protesters. It is September 13th, 2020, and the vehicle is carrying activists away from a demonstration in central Minsk. The car pulls over, and then the devastating police onslaught begins. So you can see there, people are being held down and being held at gunpoint there who are just protesters, man. Wow. wow, it's just, who would have known that people stand up against this would have been caused by George Floyd, man. George Floyd and Sarah Everett and so many other names, so many other people around the world who have been mistreated, abused, killed, raped, murdered, tortured by police officers. Who would have thought that it'll be the victims of those crimes who would have prompted other people to come forward? I mean, these are whistleblowers. These are police officers who came forward with this footage from the police archives in Belarus. Who would have thought that George Floyd would have changed the world? That people would have finally got tired of being sick and tired. The footage shows batons hitting the car's windows. The police officer fires a live round into the vehicle. The protesters are yanked out violently and forced to lie face down on the ground. Two men in the group are bleeding, one heavily and another from his cheek, or after the side of his face is ground into the asphalt. The detainees lie motionless. Sometimes their heads are pulled back and they state their names. A police body cam shows an officer busy treating a small cut on his hand from the glass. The heavily bleeding protester is eventually given a bandage from for his head. The heavily bleeding protester is eventually given a bandage for his bleeding head. So look at this. He just kicks people. Just kicking people who are handcuffed. Wow. A scene in video given exclusively to CNN by Bipol, an opposition activist group of former Belarusian police officers who have defected, is one of dozens that they have released that detail police ferocity. And some detainees are seen on camera visibly beaten and marked with red paint, a grim sign of the police's traffic light system of grading protesters in detention. Those painted red should receive the worst treatment. Sexual assault allegations have also been made by men and women against the police. Andriy, a protester from Minsk, told CNN he was raped with a police baton in a bid by police officers to make him unlock his phone. They wanted the identity of his fellow protesters, he said, asking that some details of his experience and real name not be disclosed for his safety. So a man has come forward saying a police officer took a police baton and molested him with it. A man has come forward and said that a police officer in Belarus has taken a baton and molested him with it. Andriy says he refused to give the password and was beaten. It just hit me again and again. At this time, I probably had brain trauma as I started to feel really dizzy. It was hard to move at all, he said. The police officer then threatened to assault him with his baton, asked his colleagues for a condom to sheath the weapon, and took a knife from a colleague. He cut my underwear using his knife. He asked me again to give the password. I refused again, and then he did what he did. Andriy felt pain, but also shocked that a person could do this to another. It was not just police anger. They trained people to do this, he said. We are just now seeing it at a huge scale for the first time. It touched nearly every family in Belarus now. So this is Andriy. Wow. An officer took a baton and anally raped and molested this man and assaulted this man with that baton because he wouldn't unlock his phone to reveal the identities of his other protesters and the names and the phone numbers. He was molested for that. This man was a citizen. He was protesting elections that both the U.S. and U.K. have called illegitimate, and many people in that country consider it to be illegitimate. The man was just protesting, and he was sexually assaulted with a baton. The officer even put a condom on the baton to do this. The Belarusian Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Prime Minister's office did not immediately respond to seeing this request for a response to what the footage of police tactics and violence shows and what the allegations of abuse were made. Mass arrests and protests in Belarus are often met with such brutalities. Another leaked police video by Bipol shows the aftermath of an October protest in which dozens of demonstrators are forced to stand in packed police station corridor facing the wall, their heads bowed, some bleeding on the walls, others suffering from beatings or tear gas they appeared to have been exposed to in other protests. In the video, the police officer passes between detainees asking for their details and why they were at the protest. One man has had 7 teeth smashed out. They were all visibly shaken, and the majority will go to face criminal charges for protesting, activists said. The footage also chillingly shows police walking over the unconscious body of a teenage boy on the floor. CNN has learned the detainee likely suffered from an epileptic fit and was left on the floor by police who passed over him. Witnesses said that the boy was occasionally kicked by police to see if he was responsive. Are you a boy or a girl? One witness recalled the police shouting. The minor was later released from police custody, according to witnesses who did not want to be named. So the boy had an epileptic fit, and the police just walked over him and just kicked him and didn't show any kind of care for him. This is that's just unbelievable. Police in that central station that night were also busy locating those who had escaped riot police, CNN has learned. One was Anya, a teenager who did not want to reveal her real name for her safety. She fled an advancing line of riot police who were throwing stun grenades at protesters. The explosion that caught her was captured on video. I didn't fall, she said. I froze like a deer. I just stood, thought, breathed, looked around. You know, she's saying that she was deliberately targeted, and this is Anya. Her face is being covered up. She's a teenager, and she was hit by a stun grenade from the police. Just wow, the abuse that's happening in Belarus right now. Joe Biden and the federal government's got to say something. It's got to say more. We got to do more. We got to stand with our brothers and sisters in the Ukraine and also in Belarus against this abuse that they are suffering. We got to stand in solidarity. A man was raped with a baton. Women are raped by these cops. People are beaten. People are tortured. People are abused. We've got to stand up and say something about this shit, man. Enough's enough. This is just unbelievable. I knew the problem was bad. I've heard that the problem was bad. I had no idea how bad it truly was. All right, there we go. Another recording that I'm gonna clip out from the live scene. All right, so we're gonna have a little sip of drinks. So we're gonna cover some more news. Let's cover some Capitol riot news. By the way, 420 smoke 'em if you got 'em. 420 smoke 'em if you got 'em. There's a few stories that I mean to cover. And we're going to cover a few more stories. We're going to go to Fox News. We're going to see what Fox News is talking about. By the way, guys, if you want to join in the show, you can dial number 253-203-6784. Let me go to open up the phone lines now. Also, let me go and open up my server right now. That way you guys can reach out to me. You don't have to, leave comments in the comment section, because a lot of people love to hide in the comment section, from what I've noticed. People love to hide in comic sections, man. It is just quite adorable. It's almost like they're afraid of me. Big scary darky. So there's more scandals involving Andrew Cuomo. Your boy, no name says love you for the truth. Yes, I love Me Too for the truth, and I love you because you're awesome. I love you because you're awesome. That's why I love you. So I'm in my server like right now. So if you join the voice chat, let me know, and I will be there. I will be there, and I will not be scared. Be square. All right, so Andrew Cuomo is back at it again. Andrew Cuomo is back at it again. Your boy Andrew Cuomo is back at it again. This is gonna be a strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing.
It's gonna be a really strange thing, man.
It seems to me a strange thing.
Your boy Andrew Cuomo. Your boy Andrew Cuomo, he's back at it again. And I don't understand this. How is Andrew Cuomo still in office? That's my question. How is he still in office? That's my thing, right? How is Andrew Cuomo still in office, man? I just don't understand this. Like, people like innocent till proven guilty, but bruh, this man, this man's guilty, bro. Like, I absolutely believe these women. I also believe the Democrat Assemblyman Ron Kim. I absolutely believe him. I believe him. Because Cuomo, man, you just a damn clown, man.
Enough from the clown.
We gotta get this man out of the freaking office, man. Cuomo responds to shout from supporter amid scandals. I'm not going anywhere, darling. Cuomo continues to resist pressure to resign as he faces multiple scandals. It's from Fox News. Mind you, a sixth woman has come forward. A sixth woman has come forward. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing calls for his resignation amid scandals, including allegations of sexual harassment from multiple women, but he clearly still has his female supporters, as was evidenced following an event where he announced a local church was going to be a vaccination site. Cuomo addressed the media Monday morning alongside a virtual appearance by Reverend Al Sharpton, encouraging New Yorkers to get vaccinated and urging more houses of worship to open up as coronavirus vaccination sites. On his way out, he received a vote of confidence from a woman waiting outside. First of all, right. Al Sharpton, you speak about how there's a culture of men who are going against women, right? I'm very, very curious. I wonder, Al Sharpton, did you ever say anything about Brett Kavanaugh? I wonder. Let's Google that real quick. I'm just curious. Al Sharpton is appearing with Andrew Cuomo, supporting this man. But I wonder, did he ever say anything about Brett Kavanaugh? See, I wonder. See, it's very, very interesting. Google is a very wonderful tool because Google allows you to bring up, right. So I hate to do this because I love the NAACP, but the NAACP has got to be called out here too. The NAACP has got to be called out here too because I am a supporter of Black Lives Matter. But right is wrong and wrong is wrong now. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Civil rights leaders called for a full examination of Kavanaugh's record and meeting with Senate leaders. I mean, hold on now. Let me go check and see if Sharpton said anything now. Now, the letter was co-authored by Reverend Al Sharpton and also the NAACP. So, if he has so much to say about Brett Kavanaugh, if you had so much, it seems to me like a very strange thing,
It seems to me a strange thing.
It's a very strange thing. I agree with you. I agree with Jesus Christ Superstar. It's a very, very strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing
that Al Sharpton can speak about Brett Kavanaugh and demand change with Brett Kavanaugh, but suddenly when it comes to Andrew Cuomo, and you have now 6 women, and probably gonna be a 7, probably gonna be an 8, probably gonna be 100 by the time the week's freaking through. We don't know. We don't know at this point. We have no idea. We have no idea. Right? We have no idea. Al Sharpton is still gonna stand by this man? Interesting. I love you and you better stay where you are. We've got your back, the woman called out as the governor entered a car. Cuomo smiled, pulled down his mask, and asked if the woman had been vaccinated yet. I love you, she shouted again. We love you. We need you to we need you at the finish line. You better stay. Shut the hell up, you goddamn clown.
Enough from the clown.
For whoever that woman is, I guarantee you Andrew Cuomo probably paid her off. I guarantee you, Andrew Cuomo probably gave her a couple $1,000. Say, hey, when I show up to this freaking to this church, this vaccination site, especially if it's Al Sharpton there, his fake ass. Al Sharpton is all about fleecing people at the moment and or preparing the most opportune moment for media cameras. That has been Al Sharpton's. That's been half of Al Sharpton's career. Now, I respect Al Sharpton for the civil rights work that he has done. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted, baby. But let's not misunderstand things, right? Let's not misunderstand things. We have a 6th woman who is Andrew Cuomo's current aide, who has come out with some allegations against Andrew Cuomo. And here's how this goddamn clown Cuomo responded. I want you to hear this goddamn nigga moment.
You're about to experience a nigga moment.
I want you to hear this damn nigga moment. Okay, I'm not going anywhere, darling, Cuomo responded before departing. What kind of shit? Who the hell is facing sexual assault allegations, sexual harassment allegations in a COVID nursing home scandal and yet says this shit? Do you really believe that a random woman, right, just loved it when Andrew Cuomo said, and a random woman goes out of her way and say all this shit, right? A random woman. When you've had groups out there who have flown whole airplanes, again, people don't know about this, right? Because again, in order for me to believe this shit, I gotta believe that people weren't out here doing this shit. Cuomo, airplanes. Let's go. Airplane message. I want you to see this shit. I want you to see just how many people out there actually hates Andrew Cuomo, right? I want you to see this shit, right? Cuomo's got to go. Someone actually flew a banner. Someone actually paid, right? Someone actually paid on a banner. Paid money. You know, pay money. The governor killed Nana. Someone flew that over there, right? Someone flew that over the freaking capital, right? Over the actual NYC capital. Someone flew that over there. But then the women's group also fly a banner. All right. to protest Andrew Cuomo being still in office. Women's group did this, right? Women's group fly banner over Capitol to protest Governor Cuomo. Women's groups were doing that. So once again, it's very, very obvious that this woman, whoever she was probably paid off. It would not shock me. It would not be surprising to me at all, right, if this woman was paid off. Right? It would not be surprising to me if this woman was paid off, because I want you to see this shit, right? It is just quite delicious. It is just quite delicious. All right, so women's groups fly banner over state capitol to protest Governor Cuomo. It's just quite delicious. It's just quite delicious, man.
Governor Cuomo from office has literally taken flight.
A trio of so-called gender justice organizations pooled their money, hired an airplane, and directed that plane to fly over the state capitol today.
Wow.
Dan Levy was there for the arrival. He joins us live with tonight's top story.
That's hilarious. So people actually flew a plane with like a message that Cuomo's got to go.
Was circling downtown Albany for about 2 hours, and the message that was clearly visible high in the sky, trailing that airplane, was for Governor Cuomo to pack his bags and leave office immediately. And what a sight it was under gray, overcast
New Yorkers
skies.
say Cuomo's got to go.
Wow. Cost about $5,000.
So as you can see, man, people, I want you to see.
Were to leave office, it'll be money well spent.
It is just, again, I want you to understand. When I make the accusation that there was, that this woman was clearly freaking paid off, again, that's the hate that he was getting. You had people out there saying Cuomo killed my grandma. You had an airplane doing that, right? But then you also have people doing airplanes doing this shit. You had Democrats trying to impeach this man. You had Democrats who removed this man's emergency powers. You had Democrats like Ron Kim who's come out against Andrew Cuomo. Again, do you really believe this woman was being sincere, right? Do you really believe this woman was being sincere? This is an actual person, or maybe she might have been paid off. Do you really believe that? Again, if you it's a very, very strange thing.
Seems to me a strange thing.
Right? It's a very, very strange thing. This man threatens people to change their opinion or put out positive statements about the COVID nursing home scandal that he was actually involved in, or else he would ruin their career, or else he would ruin their career. Now some people might put it past this man to pay off people to say things like this for a very convenient, extremely convenient news media appearance with a fan, when Al Sharpton just so happens to be around. I tell you, I have my doubts. I tell you what.
What?
I have my doubts. All right. I have my doubts. I tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
I just have my doubts, man. I just have my doubts. That's just something about the story. It just seems kind of weird to me. Something about this just seems like it just stands out to me. Cuomo has faced calls to resign from many officials, a lot of them fellow Democrats, including state assembly and Senate members, as well as New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, due to sexual harassment allegations and controversies related to coronavirus nursing home deaths. Cuomo has shrugged off the pressure so far, insisting that he will not resign. New York State Attorney General Letitia James is currently investigating the harassment allegations, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York is looking into nursing home deaths, which critics have blamed on a state directive requiring facilities to take in residents who had COVID-19, and whether Cuomo released false data that underreported the number of fatalities. The State Assembly's Judiciary Committee is also conducting a broad impeachment inquiry that is covering both subjects. So once again, I hope Cuomo goes. He needs to resign, but mostly resign, but also be impeached and also be locked up for the things that you have done. Because I believe everybody in the case against freaking Andrew Cuomo, I believe he's a scumfuck. I believe it. And there's not much anyone can do to change my mind at this point. Seriously. I mean, at this point, it's not just men who have come forward with claims. It's also women. It's not just women who have come forward with claims. It's also fellow New Yorkers. It's also it's not just men's groups who don't like Andrew Cuomo. It's clearly some of the feminist groups who don't like Andrew Cuomo. It's not just Republicans who don't like Andrew Cuomo. It's also Democrats. So once again, Andrew Cuomo needs to go for the sake of New Yorkers and also for the sake of the state of New York and also for the good of the country, because that state cannot function with that man at the helm abusing people, and also just for the confidence of the voters and also for the confidence of the citizens and also the functionality of the government itself. Andrew Cuomo needs to go. All right. That's going to be another live edit I'm going to be putting out for you guys. Man, it's going to be breezing through, man. I'm actually liking this a little bit better because I can actually get the streams going a little bit better, and the streams aren't as freaking choppy. And on top of that, I can get live edits done when I download the video from my YouTube studio, man. So, I mean, once again, I love doing what I do. I love, bringing you guys news. I love giving you guys, great content, but at the same time give you truthful, honest content from my own perspective. At the same time, if you don't agree with what I have to say, guys, you can call in, you can join Discord, you could also interact with the show, and you can also catch up with me. And you don't have to actually call into the show just to argue with me. Sometimes you can just talk to me, and you can just tell me how your day is going. You can tell me what's grinding your gears. Tell me some of the content that you think I should cover. Right? But there are a few stories that I do want to cover that are pretty wild. I'm trying to find one that I'm just that I want to cover. Just there's a few stories that I do want to cover, but I mean, there's a bad cop, no donut that I do want to cover, but I'm trying to limit those a little bit because I cover so many of them. But I can go ahead and try to cover one. I'm going to cover one. It's from the Seattle Times. It's not really a bad cop, but this firefighter. This one is this one's kind of crazy. So this was coming from the Seattle Times, man. All right, so here we go. Seattle Times. Seattle firefighter facing charges in underage sexting is placed on leave. All right, so this is coming from this is going to be a crazy story. This is a story of a firefighter in Seattle who was placed on leave. It was a sting, so there's very little chance that he didn't do this. It was a sting, so he was caught trying to do something. This is written by Sidney Brownstone of this. He was a Seattle Times staff reporter. The Seattle Fire Department has placed a longtime firefighter on administrative leave after an arrest during an online sting operation with undercover officers posing as 13-year-old girls. Wow. So at the beginning of the story, you're kind of seeing how this is going. So this guy was apparently caught trying to meet up and have sex with a 13-year-old girl, or at least what he thought was a 13-year-old girl. Pierce County prosecutors on Thursday charged the firefighter Andrew Sapir, 52, with 2 counts of second-degree attempted rape of a child and communication with a minor for immoral purposes, though no actual children were involved in the alleged crimes. Sapier's arrest and charges, first reported by the News Tribune, were among 3 other arrests that were part of Operation Daycare, a multi-agency effort similar to the Washington State Patrol's Operation Net Nanny, a series of online sting operations launched in 2015. So once again, this has been going on since 2015, and I'm certain that they've been doing this much earlier, but they've been catching a lot of police officers and some firefighters and also some public officials in some of these things, and that's the most troubling part about this. That's the part about this that actually disturbs me the most, that they've been catching so many public servants, so many public officials in this stuff, because of what that of the implications of that. Because a child wouldn't hesitate to approach a firefighter. So that's what makes this so troubling and so disturbing. People convicted in online stings in Washington can serve more time in prison than those convicted of molesting actual children, according to a New York Times analysis, and can spend life on the sex offender registry. Net nanny cases have a 95% conviction rate, according to the Washington State Patrol. Richard Packard, past president of the Washington State chapter of the Association of the Treatment of Sexual Abusers, said that most of the men netted in online underage sex stings present a relatively low risk of subsequent arrest or conviction for sex crimes, but there are some serious exceptions. Online stings raise the questions of what people would have done if they hadn't been involved in a police operation, said Michael O'Connell, the representative of the chapter of the Washington State Sex Offender Policy Board. It does raise questions, but if you are talking online with someone who you think is 13, and you are a firefighter, you are a public official, you are a police officer, or you just a regular person, I have no problem with you being locked up. Now, if you're just saying general sexual things and you're not aware the person is underage, that's one thing. Or it depends on the context, but in this particular context, I think it's pretty clear what this man was going to try to do. There is child sex abuse in the world. It is a thing. There are some meetups that occur in various internet platforms and social media platforms, and those actually do happen, O'Connell said. Yet he added, I think there's a reasonable hypothesis that, but for these planned and contrived sting operations, these guys would not have gone looking for a 13-year-old person. Well, I'm not sure about that, but I do see the argument there that there's an element of entrapment there. There is an element of seeking to trap someone into a crime that they might not have actually committed, based solely on what they're saying that they were going to commit. But at the same time, I do get the point of these operations, especially if someone is a firefighter or a public servant. You just can't have that. You just can't have that, man. A Sapir case is the second in a month in which a public employee was caught in an online sting. In February, a 27-year-old Washington State Patrol employee was arrested after police said he traded graphic messages with an undercover officer and showed up at a Kirkland hotel room expecting to find 2 children. The Seattle Fire Department confirmed that Sapir, who was hired by the department in 1998, was arrested while off duty and was placed on leave pending an internal investigation in the upcoming legal process. According to the charging documents, Sapir reached out to a social media profile showing a photo of a female undercover state patrol trooper with a listed age of 52. In text exchanged between Sapir and an undercover officer, the officer later identified as 13. The undercover officer asked Sapir if he was down to party along with a friend, also described as 13, and asked him to bring condoms. Sapir was arrested March 16th at a Tacoma address given to him by an undercover officer. Sapir at times expressed confusion about the age of the person he was corresponding with in text exchanged between the two. In a recorded interview with Seattle police, Sapir said he came to the house hoping that the 2 girls were not actually 13. Police said that After the recording ended, Sapir said he might have been willing to have sex with two 13-year-olds. So if he said that, I have no problem with this man going down. But once again, he's facing charges. You're a sick individual, especially towards the end when he said that he was willing to go meet up with two 13-year-old girls. God, you're sick, man. I hope you get help. I hope you go to prison. I hope you get help. I hope you get rehabilitated. You don't just get thrown away, man. I hope you get help, because this is sick, man. And I'm glad that he was caught before any actual children were harmed, because it's one thing when you have people out on the streets, but when you have firefighters out here doing things like this, it's very disturbing. Because, there are children out there who look up to firefighters. You look at Paw Patrol, you look at a lot of these shows that are geared towards children, and firefighters are portrayed in a certain light. And that is to encourage children to go and speak with them and go and have conversations with them. And so you would have children who would go and speak and have conversations with this man. And it is so disturbing that a child would do that without realizing that they might be in danger. All right, another live edit done. All right, so we're going to be downloading that video. We're going to be putting that up, man, have a little fun with that. But yeah, man, it's just a sad story. That was crazy. It's just, crazy, man. So this story is kind of a wild one that I'm going to be talking about next. It's a story out of Pittsburgh. This story is pretty wild in itself, so I want you guys to get ready for this. This is reported by the Associated Press. All right, so this is from Fox 8. So I want to get this live edit done, man. I want to get this recording done. All right, from Fox 8, Pittsburgh area police officers post to private Facebook group shows hostility, hate. So I'm very, very curious to see how this turns out. I'm very curious. I want to see the.
I'm sorry about that. Would you want to come in real quick?
I want to see what happens here.
Exceeding expectations.
Wait, this recording is done. All right, so it's talking about a Facebook post. So again, there's a bit of a Facebook post there, and I wonder what this Facebook post is about. That I'm gonna scratch that recording. I'm gonna get this new one here. I want to get a good one here, man. I want to get a good one here. All right, so Pittsburgh police officers posted private Facebook group show hostility, hate. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick. So in a private Facebook group called the Pittsburgh Area Police Break Room, many current and retired police officers spent the year criticizing the chiefs who took a knee or officers who marched with Black Lives Matter protesters, whom they call terrorists or thugs. They made transphobic posts and bullied members who supported the anti-police brutality protesters or Joe Biden in a forum billed as a place police officers can decompress, rant, and share ideas. Wow. Many of the deluge of daily posts were jokes about the hardships of being police officers, memorials of deceased colleagues, or conversations about training or in equipment. But over the group's almost 4-year existence, a few dozen members became more vocal with posts that shifted towards pro-Donald Trump memes and harsh criticism of anyone perceived to support so-called Democrats, Black Lives Matter, or coronavirus safety measures. Wow. So you have officers criticizing coronavirus safety measures. That's just, just wow.
Wow! Oh my God!
You have officers also sharing transphobic stuff. What is transphobia? It's very, very interesting because I did a video about a sheriff in Spartanburg County called Chuck Wright, who said that he would whoop a trans person if they tried to enter the female's restroom. So it was very, very interesting. You know, it was a very, very strange thing, right?
Seems to me a strange thing.
When I had people out there asking, "Oh, do you think there's a certain epidemic of police officers just discriminated against trans people? Do you think that's an actual thing?" You know, and I thought that it was very, very interesting. You know, that people out there would go out of their way to defend police officers, knowing good and well that there were transphobic police officers, and it is absolutely a thing. But now you're seeing it happening in other states and also in Facebook groups. You know, and this actual Facebook group existed for years. So it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a very, very strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing.
I agree with you, Jesus Christ Superstar. I agree with you, right? I agree with you. It's going to be a very, very strange thing to see how this turns out. In June, Tim Husnack, a corporal at the Borough of Lincoln Police Department, posted a screenshot of the Allegheny County 911 dispatcher's Facebook page, indicating that the phrase that the phrase "Blue Lives Matter" used by law enforcement supporters is not equivalent to the slogan "Black Lives Matter" because policing is a choice, not a fact of birth. He wrote many negative posts on the police, and we should trust her with our lives. Some angry members rallied quickly and organized phone calls to a supervisor demanding she be fired. So once again, cancel culture. Cancel culture. You have police officers. Oh, wow. It is this.
Oh my God.
It's very, very interesting. It must have been Antifa.
It was Antifa, right?
It must have been Antifa. It must have been Antifa who was calling people's work and getting them fired. It must have been Antifa. I tell you what, man.
I'll tell you what.
It must have been Antifa. It must have been those sneaky Antifa who was getting people fired for sharing opinions that they don't like. It's a very, very strange thing, wouldn't you say?
It seems to me a strange thing.
Very strange thing. Police officers complaining about cancel culture. Donald Trump supporters complaining about cancel culture, and yet they were trying to cancel people. Some angry man. I want to highlight this again. It's from Fox 8, from Fox News saying this now. Right? Fox News saying this. Some angry members of this group rallied quickly and organized phone calls to her supervisor demanding she be fired. Multiple officers should call and report it. Remember, no justice, no peace, laugh out loud. West Mifflin Borough Police Department officer Tommy Trieu responded under his Facebook name, Tommy Bear. Interesting. Trieu was one of the 2 West Mifflin officers seen in a video last year restraining a 15-year-old black girl after responding to a call about a fight on a school bus. Activists called for the firing of the officers, but borough officials said the recording started after a student hit an officer and that they did nothing wrong. A few members of the group also were bullied or left the page, including an officer who said the fraternal order of police's Trump endorsement did not represent her and a black officer who was accused of creating a fake Facebook account to complain about a lack of diversity in local departments. Wow. So black officers and other officers who simply aren't Trump supporters, who weren't MAGA-tars, who weren't the American ISIS, who weren't the people who wanted to raid the Capitol. They were simply chased off of the page, right? They were simply chased off the page. You know, people tell me so much about cancel culture. How people are canceled, right? People are just canceled all the time, just canceled. It's very interesting. It's a very, very strange thing.
It seems to me a strange thing.
When the shoe's on the other foot, you have the opportunity to cancel other people. What does the American ISIS, the American right, what does the Blue Lives Matter terrorists, the Popo, what is it that they did? The Associated Press was able to view posts and comments from the group, which has 2,200 members, including about a dozen current and former police chiefs from mainly Allegheny County and some surrounding areas stretching into Ohio, and at least one judge and one councilman. So, whoa.
Oh my God! Wow! Oh my God!
One judge and one councilman. So suppose a police officer were to come in front of that judge with a claim against a citizen. How do you think that judge is gonna rule? Interesting. But hey, devil's advocate. Hey, Black Lives Matter. Hey, black people. Hey, victims of police brutality and retaliation. Just vote for change. There's also a councilman that's right there. Just vote for change. Just take it to court, but it's also a judge in this group too when they're saying all this stuff. Just vote for change, devil's advocate. Just vote for change. Things will just be different. Just vote for change, devil's advocate. Just vote for change. After the APP began asking questions about posts last week, the group appeared to have deleted or suspended from view. Contacted by the AP, Lincoln Borough Police Chief Richard Bosco said departmental policy prohibited Hushnak from talking to the media. He said the officer is known for his service to the community and wasn't aware that officers had posted insults under his post or that things had gotten out of hand.
That's bullshit. Stop lying.
I don't believe you.
That's bullshit. Stop lying.
I just don't believe that. Do you think that if a judge and a councilman, right, in a Facebook group that has roughly 2,200 members, right? 2,200 members. Many of them, including about a dozen current and former police chiefs, that this man, who is the current police chief in Lincoln Borough right now, right, that he wasn't aware of this stuff. Do you believe that for a second? Because if you believe that, right, I got some unicorn horns and some goblin's teeth that I want to sell you. But I can already tell that this police chief, Richard Bosco, is a goddamn clown.
Enough from the clown.
He understood the concerns and he lead the post, Bosco said. There is and there needs to be a higher professional standard for police, especially when it comes to social media. He understands the concerns and he lead the post. Right. So imagine for a second, if you will, how it would be seen by officers if a citizen made an anti-police Facebook page and put out personal info and try to get those officers fired. What would be the response? Will those officers just say, hey, they understand the concerns and they delete the post? They need to be there, and there is and there needs to be a higher professional standard for citizens, especially when it comes to social media. Do you think that this clown ass police chief would have said that? Again, notice how he's trying to soften the landing here. He understands the concerns, right? and he deleted the post. Delete his fucking job. Delete his fucking job. Trejo defended his comment, telling the Associated Press that he was merely advising other officers in the group that just like community members can complain about officers, they could file a grievance with the dispatcher's supervisor if they feared for their safety. Really, you feared for your safety. You feared for your safety, right? So if you read this post right here, no justice, no peace, laugh out loud. When you say laugh out loud, you
Enough from the clown.
When you say laugh out loud, you goddamn clown, right? Right? Or he wrote, right? They're simply saying that Black Lives Matter is not the same as Blue Lives Matter because you can't choose, right, your skin color. That's all the officer, not the freaking officer, right? Right? This 911 dispatcher said. A 911 dispatcher said, right? They wrote, right? This is how these officers responded. Many negative posts on police, and we should trust her with our lives. Negative posts on police, and we should trust her with our lives. Negative posts. She has a free speech right, you piece of shit clown.
Enough from the clown.
Again, this is why I say I don't want to hear police officers talk about free speech, cancel culture, or any of that other shit, because this shows me that the political right, the Blue Lives Matter crowd, the MAGA crowd, the fucking American ISIS, as I would call them, or just the general American right, are a bunch of fucking authoritarian goddamn clowns.
Enough from the clown.
Don't talk to me about Gina Carano or anybody else getting canceled. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear shit else about cancel culture or how you getting canceled, because when it comes to the right, I hope your bitch asses get goddamn canceled. Because I'm seeing more and more that I'm behaving much like Papa Midnight from the Constantine movie and also the comics, right? You remember when John Constantine told Papa Midnight, you're the only one still playing by the rules between the war between heaven and hell. You're the only one still playing by the rules. Fuck the rules. Because I'm seeing now that you have no problem having people canceled. So I'm tired of being the only one playing by the goddamn rules. This is some bullshit. I don't want to hear the fucking American ISIS, a.k.a. the American right, a.k.a. MAGA, a.k.a. Blue Lives Matter, a.k.a. the average goddamn cop. I don't want to hear you say shit else, a fucking another word about cancel culture. Yeah, I just showed you where someone tried to cancel a 911 dispatcher because they were simply publicly criticizing police officers. There was no threats there. The person was never fucking arrested. I've already seen this goddamn cases for, okay? No threats, nothing fucking illegal. So don't talk to me about fucking cancel culture. Shut the fuck up. If you leave a comment about cancel culture, I'm going to eat your ass. Don't want to hear shit about it. You can only talk about it on this channel if you're on the left, not if you're on the right. If I sense that you are on the right and you're speaking about the cancel culture, I'm going to ask you about this goddamn video. And I want to hear you condemn the cops. In this case, say they are pieces of shit. You will not, and I will not accept anything other than that. Those are the rules here. I don't want to hear shit else about cancel culture. Because the fucking political right does not give a fuck about it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the Pitchfork podcast. Thank you guys for joining me today. If you guys like the stream, hit the like button, hit share button. Make sure you let other people know that the stream exists. By the way, let me go read out the comments here. Diesel Bomber says, I still don't get it. There's no way, absolutely no way I would try to even go out of my way to speak normally to a kid. Shit, I avoid talking to my own kids most of the time. Damn, Diesel. I laugh out loud. Cops are just as smart as criminals. Go online, talk shit, then wonder why they get caught. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the show today. Thank you guys for joining me. Horns up, peace out, don't get COVID. Good night and good luck.